Joined now on Making Waves with Roosevelt University tennis coach Dominic DiNardo. And Coach, thanks for joining us here on Making Waves. And first question right out of the gate is how's the season going so far as Roosevelt tennis has been concerned?
Yeah, so season's going really well. I know just started our conference and have a very tough conference and the GLIAC and a lot of nationally ranked teams, but we're holding our own and just learning a lot with this new season.
Have there been a lot of adjustments to GLIAC play? We've been talking about it throughout our chats here on Making Waves. The adjustment that has had to have been made going into the NCAA level in GLIAC, and has that been something that's been kind of a standout thing? Has it been noticeable, the adjustments having to be made for the GLIAC?
Yeah, most definitely. Compared to the NAIA, the Division Two has a lot more depth, and the GLIAC, even in tennis, is arguably one of the toughest conference, if not the toughest conference in all of Division Two.
That certainly presents a challenge then each and every time your team takes the court, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Just a lot more intensity that you have to do, and the way I can prepare my team is just the practices can be even more difficult. How to push them to the next level.
Is there or has there been a great difference in how you might prepare as opposed to when the school was playing at the NAIA level? Is there a difference in preparation for matches at the NCAA level?
Yeah, there is. The special differences last year, a lot of it was all about consistency. It's like, all right, if you can make three balls deep, heavy topspin, that's going to get a lot of the points. But just the pace that you can put on the ball and just the ability that, these players have, getting it in is not enough. You have to provide pressure with each and every shot. You have to make each and every shot count.
Is it a situation you talk about applying pressure on each and every point? Is it a situation where you have to be when you're on the court? Now, I don't know if there's a difference in singles or doubles, but you have to try to be a little bit aggressive and make sure you keep that pressure on.
Yeah, that is absolutely correct. I know if you can provide the pressure from the get-go and run your opponent around, there's a lot of different strategies that you can utilize before your opponent utilizes their strategies that they want to use.
Yeah, if you're able to keep your opponent kind of on their heels a little bit, and if you keep that pressure up, that creates a lot in the opponent's mind that they have to deal with, doesn't it?
No, absolutely. And every player that I have is different. Sometimes we have serve and volleyers, players that can serve 125. Other players can only serve low hundreds, but they're really fast. And just how do we maximize their best play style so they can play the best tennis they can?
Is that part of the adjustment process? You mentioned top 2,000 and whatnot, and playing at that level of competition is the adjustment to maybe a little bit more of a power game. Is that part of the process for players coming into this level at the first year?
Yeah, it's a lot about power and also how heavy the ball is. And, something you're not going to see on TV is how much RPMs each ball has. And the lower levels, just every ball might be a little flatter, but just you'll have the same power and a more piercing topspin.
It comes down to that much detail as far as each individual tennis ball. I'm sure no two are alike, and that plays into the thinking of a player as well.
Yeah, I mean, we go through balls so much. I mean, even, in our conference, we have to switch balls, when it's a third set. In D1, you have to switch balls every set because you hit the ball so hard with so much topspin that you just rip the felt right off, and you don't see that at the lower levels.
We talked about the power game a few minutes ago. One other aspect, I suspect, especially with regard to collegiate level tennis, is the influx of international players. It seems like that is something that has completely changed tennis over the last maybe 10, maybe a little bit more, 15 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, tennis, similar to soccer and, baseball, is a world sport. And what I've found is Roosevelt has the unique thing of being in the best location, arguably, out of like any college. And internationals, what I've found, most of them, they want to live in a big city. If they're going to come to college for 4 or 5 years and then potentially stay or not, they want to have a great experience. Before this, I was a head coach at Upper Iowa University, a small Division two in the middle of nowhere. And, that's when I learned most international players want to go to a big city. And a lot of players play tennis in other countries. It's more popular in other countries than it is in America.
And that has to be from a recruiting point of view, a great selling point to be able to go out and talk to recruits and say, hey, you'll be able to play tennis in one of the largest cities in America.
Yeah, that is a huge selling point, and that's mainly how I got the large international roster and just a lot of good opportunities. And it's really special to have the diversity we do on our team.
Is there an adjustment to that? Is there a situation where there are challenges to coaching both men and women?
Yeah, I mean, it's just different because I can't do the same practice for both teams. And we practice at the same time, but I have a great grad assistant, Felipe Penuela, and we have to see before it's like the week. It's like, all right, how do I prepare each team so they can play their best tennis? Because men's and women's tennis is like very different. You don't see many women's players who can hit like over 100-mile-an-hour serves in a match. Women's tennis is a lot of it. It's about the return games. Men's tennis, there's a lot more holds overall from just like the sample size that we have.
Coaching both men and women at Roosevelt University, then, is there a balance that needs to be struck when you're trying to coach two teams at once simultaneously?
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's the balance that, I've been trying to work out the entire season. And we have a pretty good structure set up, and just making sure all the needs are met for every one of the teams and the student athletes.
One thing about playing in the GLIAC now and at the NCAA level, a lot of travel, not quite so many home matches. I suspect that has a set of special challenges for a coach and for a team in general.
Yeah, I know we had our first challenge. We had a trip to Michigan Tech, which including stops, it was 8 hours. Spend the night, get 8 hours of sleep, play in the morning, immediately travel to Lake Superior. That was 5 hours away. Play that match and drive 8 hours back. It's like, all right, get ready for practice the next week. And over time that can take a toll on the body and on the mind. But that's where mental health. I really push that, and I know kind of a rule I made. It's like, all right, you have 3 mental health days per semester because they're also student athletes. They need to have time to do homework as well. So,
is that something that you have to really try to guide and navigate the teams through as you go through the schedule?
yeah. So if we have a match Sunday, then I likely do not have practice in the morning Monday since we have practice 6 a.m. through 8 a.m., but we'll still have strength and conditioning. So it's just navigating, all right, how are we going to be 100% or as close to 100% for the matches? Because if we're not going to be 100%, what another day of practice is rest better or is another day of practice better?
This may sound like a little bit of a keen grasp of the obvious, but when you have a long road trip, an 8-hour trip, it has to be harder to try to get the team to be at 100%, not only again for the coach, but for the student athlete as well.
Yeah, and that is a very difficult part, especially as a college athlete, since we have like 2 to 3 matches a week, and we have had a pretty big spring season. And when I was a student athlete, I had just had to accept the fact that I'm not going to be at 100% for all my matches, but I'm going to give my very best that I have that day.
When you're in that mindset, when I might not be at the top of my game, I might not be at 100%, how does that change your approach to a match?
I think you just have to, and this is what I tell my players, like, just give me your very best that you have that day, because no matter how you're feeling, you have to go into each match with that killer mentality that's, I'm going to play my best tennis ever. And then if you're not, you have to just accept the fact and just find a way to win and find a way to grind the match out. If it is really frustrating if you're not 100%, but you have to control the things you can control and accept the things you can't.
Finally, wanted to ask about just in your personal experience, what was it that brought you to tennis? What was it that that made you want to play tennis and eventually to go on to coach?
Yeah, my grandparents, when I was 6 years old, my grandpa always loved to watch John McEnroe and Borg when he was in college, and they got me my first tennis lesson when I was 6 years old, and I fell in love with it ever since. I'm very blessed that I get to love every single day of my life being a college tennis coach. This was my dream ever since I was a kid to be in tennis, and in high school that's when I knew it's like I want to be a college coach for the rest of my career.
Was there one point during your journey where it kind of crystallized for you and you decided I want to go into coaching?
Yeah, and Craig Johnson, my high school coach, and Chris Tolson, who's also currently a coach of a Division II school now. Like they really helped develop me as a coach, and I've had a lot of mentors, and that it just showed me how much fun it is, and just the competitive atmosphere, and just being able to be an advocate for these young student athletes.
Coach Dominic DiNardo with us, Roosevelt tennis coach. Coach, thanks for being with us here on Making Waves, and congratulations on the season so far, and hopefully it will continue to go well for you.
Thank you so much.
From our first day, Roosevelt has been a place for all. Before it was widely accepted, Dr. Edward Sparling stood for social justice. When asked to take a racial and religious census, he simply responded, "We don't count that way." And 62 faculty members walked out with him. Together, they founded Roosevelt University, a place for you to belong.
Welcome back again to Making Waves, our look into Roosevelt University athletics, and joined now by Roosevelt tennis standouts Theodora Petrika and Eustace Peters. And both of you, welcome to Making Waves.
Hi, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us. Hello.
First thing I want to ask is just how the season has gone so far, as what has transpired on the court so far in 2025 at RU Tennis.
It's been definitely very fun to compete. It's been a lot of good teams that we've played against, especially transitioning into D2 from NAIA. The level has definitely gone up, and I think the team has just done a great job keeping the energy up and trying to compete the best they can.
Similar for you, Eustace? Similar feelings?
Yeah, same on the men's side. We have very good competition against a lot of ranked opponents in Division 2. So it's quite high competition in conference and also non-conference matches.
Has there been a dramatic difference as far as the level of competition goes now that you're in the NCAA and now moving through the GLIAC schedule?
I think so. Compared to last year, it's definitely been a big step up. I think we expected it, knowing the difference in division and how that was going to look. But competing was a completely different level. Like going out there and seeing the high level that all these players have, and they've trained at that level for so long. It's definitely taken us a bit to just get it started. But again, I think we've done a great job keeping up with all of those good teams.
Yeah, I think the intensity and energy is just very different going into the match already. So when we had our first conference match, we really felt that energy from the other team. And that's when we said we definitely need to change that plan.
Was it something you were able to feel right when you walk out onto the court? It's interesting you say that because of, again, the different level of play. Is it something you sensed right away when you headed out onto the court?
I think so.
Yeah,
the energy, just even from warm-up, I think how the other teams just hyped each other up was a very big thing. They were loud. They were in there. They were like locked in. So I think it was easy to sense just from getting into the tennis courts.
Yeah, I think it definitely shows that tennis is a team sport in college, so it really brings that team spirit.
Sounds like it's a completely different atmosphere.
Yeah.
And is that something that you try to feed on as the match goes along when you're out there, whether it's singles or doubles?
Yeah, I would say that's something that everyone needs to do. We're trying to hype our teammates up. Even if someone is done with the matches already, we still keep going for the last person to finish.
And yeah, I think also just feeding off of the other team as well. You don't want to be the quiet team and just kind of take it laying down. So I think that was another thing that just kind of pushed all of us, because we felt like we were starting already like in a corner, but we definitely got the energy up. I think, as Eustace said, we build off of each other. We see that we have all the matches happening at the same time. And we just kind of like feed off when like somebody's winning a point a game when we break. So it's definitely gotten better.
That sounds like it's something a little bit different from what the typical viewer watching maybe say a Grand Slam tennis event might see watching it on television. For example, every winter I'm usually watching the Australian Open. I like the majors, and it's different because you're watching one match. Now it might be on center court. Wimbledon, a lot of people, a lot of energy, but the college environment sounds like it's a little bit different because so much is going on at the same time.
Yeah, that's true. I think, especially coming in from juniors, where you're so used to it being an individual sport, it's just you out there. Coming into college and having five other players next to you competing and just having that team energy being brought into it makes a lot of difference because it makes you feel like you're not alone. Like you're not only fighting for yourself, but you're fighting for the team.
Eustace, one thing I wanted to ask in that vein is it has to be nice knowing that there are teammates there who have you, you have their support, whereas I play some individual sports and you're out there all alone and you have to completely depend on yourselves. It has to be nice knowing that you have teammates there to support you.
Exactly. It's nice to have that feeling, especially because we start with the doubles and then go into singles. You always have those people around you to support, even the people not playing, they're there to support you at any time.
Can you have kind of a lonely feeling out there sometimes playing singles?
That's a good question. I think it depends a lot on the match and just how the courts are set up because we're playing at different facilities. Sometimes it's all of us next to each other. Sometimes it's maybe 3-3 or broken down like differently. But I can't say that I felt alone. I think always having the teammates. We also, in between programs, we try to support each other. If it's a men's match, the women's tennis team always tries to be there and support them, and vice versa. And then also having our coaches on court with us and just having that support and just being pushed to be our best, I think has definitely helped.
Eustace, one thing I noticed from the answer to the previous question, and that is that do you take a look at the venue right when you walk in and do you kind of survey the situation and see how it might be able to play to your advantage, or do you see maybe there might be a hurdle or two that you need to overcome?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, every facility is a bit different, so you need to adapt to the courts, whether they're a bit quicker or not, or if there's more space on the sides or not. So at the practice facility where we're at, we have a lot of space and it's quite a big court, whereas we faced last weekend a team where the sides were a bit smaller, so that also plays into account, for example, for the serve.
One thing as well that we like to ask the student athletes here on Making Waves, and that is why Roosevelt University? What was it about Roosevelt that drew you here to downtown Chicago, not only for your athletics career, but also your academics career as well?
Well, I think the location definitely plays a big part. We can't ignore the very good location that Roosevelt has. We're right in the heart of the city. You have everything so close to you. And I think coming in as an athlete when we're still competing in NAIA and like knowing that next year we're gonna take like such a big step into NCAA, that definitely made it an interesting spot to be in. And I think for me, it made me want to be here and compete at one of the highest collegiate levels. And then academic wise, I think the small classrooms are a big plus. You get to build relationships with your professors, you get that personal attention. So it has been, again, I think a big thing that made me want to come here.
Eustace, you as well? Similar feelings?
Yeah, it's similar feelings. The only thing I would add is also being in the city of Chicago, it provides a lot of opportunities for after university too, which Roosevelt supports a lot with the career services academic wise. So there are a lot of opportunities for athletics and academics.
Circling back to the GLIAC, it's a new experience. Has it been an adjustment that's been difficult? Has it been something that you've been able to just ease into? How's the adjustment to playing in the GLIAC gone so far this year for you?
Well, I think our non-conference matches have helped us kind of settle in a bit because before we started playing all of our competition in GLIAC, we had other good matches with D2 teams, like for example, University of Indianapolis, a top 10 ranked team in D2. So I think, again, yeah, we felt the difference, but I think having those matches kind of prepare us for conference and what the level is going to look like has helped it be an easier transition into GLIAC.
And how's the adjustment gone for you, Eustace?
Yeah, I feel like it's been a challenge for both programs. The level definitely went up from last year, which is great, and we're taking them up on the challenge.
As an athlete, is it a lot of fun to play now at this new level and have the challenges and also the hurdles to try to clear?
I think so, yeah. I've honestly enjoyed the challenge so much. I think playing with those good players and just like, for example, in the women's team, the level from last year, we still had good competition, but it's just such a big difference now. I've enjoyed it so much, just going on court and honestly just having fun, like knowing that whatever I do, it's a win for me.
Eustace, has there been one thing that stands out as far as the adjustment now to this level of play so far this season?
I would say I would bring up the energy again. So the energy is different for other teams, but also for us. And it's been a big change compared to last year, which I really enjoy. Being kind of a unit as a team is very nice to have.
In addition, just concentrating on the sport of tennis itself, it seems like it's a sport that requires a lot of mental toughness. I mean, every sport requires mental toughness to some degree, but tennis, it seems, especially so. Is that something that you have found throughout your careers?
I think so. We've talked today about having our teammates next to us, but at the end of the day, you are playing with yourself and by yourself in a way. There's no one else that's on court with you in singles, at least. So I think the mental part has definitely been a very big thing that for me at least I've tried to focus on from a young age. I started competing pretty late. I think I was around like 12 when I started actually playing competitions. So I've had the chance, the luck, I guess, of having a good support system around me, my family. I've had psychologists that I've talked to. We're both coming from the Rafa Nadal Academy, and I think there they've just shown us how important a good team around you really is.
Similar thoughts, Eustace, as well as far as the mental toughness aspect of the game?
Yeah, it's really about balancing the team part with the individual part in college. And I feel like my journey has prepared me for that. But you're still on court by yourself and you need to figure out some stuff. You obviously have your coach and your teammates, but in the end, you still need to know your game plan. Still need to play every single point, and you need to have a positive attitude. In tennis, the momentum can shift very quickly, especially in college matches, and it can just go like this, and it's switched.
Are there greatly dramatic are there greatly dramatic momentum shifts in the college game as far as tennis goes?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think even by games, now you're a breakup, next changeover, you're a breakdown. Like it really switches a lot. And as used to said, the energy just being so different from last year, it definitely plays an impact into that because you don't want your the person you're playing against to just get ahead of you and then for you to feel like you have to keep up with them. But there's definitely been a lot of matches, I think even in like third sets, that both programs have faced where we've been up and we've had people make a small comeback, or the other way around, the team that we're playing against was up and then our own athletes have managed to make up and like make it a smaller difference. So the momentum switches a lot.
Yeah, I think the momentum also coming from doubles to singles is a big thing. So if you get the doubles point, it's a positive momentum that you can take. But also if you lose the doubles point, you kind of need to get that positive energy back and kind of make a comeback to win four singles to win the whole match.
It sounds like focusing on the doubles aspect. It sounds like doubles especially can be a little bit of an emotional roller coaster with dramatic momentum swings taking place very quickly.
Yeah, I think doubles in general just is a very quick game compared to singles. Points are not long. It's, I think, maybe 2-3 shots on average, and then the point is done. So it can definitely feel like, it's going by very fast. And if you have a match where it's taking you a bit longer to get into it, it definitely feels like you're playing catch up the whole game.
Eustace, one difference that I would think between singles and doubles, and Teodora just mentioned it, is the fact that doubles is so quick. In singles, obviously it's still not a lot of time, but do you get a little bit of a break when the ball's coming your way and you get a little bit of at least time to try to go through a thought process, whereas doubles, it seems just like it's almost instantaneous reaction.
Yeah, in doubles you don't get a lot of time to think, especially because it's only one set. So if you get a break, you could be down 3-0, which is already half a set. So you really need to be there from the first moment. You don't get a warm up with your opponents, but you need to be ready from the first moment.
One set, that has to be a lot of pressure right from the first point.
Yeah, it is. And I think another thing that for me at least I've noticed, it's the fact that in a way you're playing against two people on the other side. In singles, it's only you and the person you're against, but in doubles you have another person, so it feels like the court is getting smaller, you have smaller margins. And so I think that's another thing that's making it go by so fast, just because you feel a bit more like suffocated, I would say.
Even though the court is larger, Eustace, it sometimes feel that the court is smaller in doubles.
Yeah, for sure, because the net person just leaves you very little space to work with. And then also having the deuce point in doubles and singles in college is a big thing. So having a deciding point can switch a lot of things. You can lose a lot of golden points and still win more points in the match overall and still lose the match.
And the one thing about doubles that it appears very obvious, a lot of communication is needed between the doubles teammates when they're out there on the court.
Yeah, there's even before the point starts, you're signaling your partner if they're serving where they should go, where you're going to be for the point. You are talking in between, making sure that you both are on the same page. You both know the game plan so that the point, as we said, it goes by fast, but you both know what you're doing. So you make sure you win most of the points.
Finally, what was it that brought you to tennis? Way back when you started playing, what was it about tennis that attracted you?
Well, for me, it was my best friend actually. So my best friend just took me to play tennis, and I liked it, and I got into it more and more. And then I really enjoyed the competition and the people I was surrounded by, and it helped me outside of the sports world as well. So it taught me a lot.
For me, it was my sister. I wasn't even supposed to play tennis, actually. It started off as my mom wanted to get us out of the house, and I was way too young. I think I was like 2 when my sister started playing, but I couldn't be left home alone, so I had to be by the courts. And I think just being there, like, week in, week out, and just seeing the sport, I just kind of fell in love with it, and I decided, I want to do this, and I want to play, and I've had that support system around me that has gotten me to where I am now.
All right, well, Teodoro and Eustace, thank you so much for joining us here on Making Waves, and best of luck as the season continues.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.